Hey, it's Matt Souders, aka DJ Noji with the P3 Experience. I wanted to go over this PDF for our ceremony event sample, is what we call it. So that way, because our couples they enjoy it, they love going through it with a one-on-one. So this is something that I can make available. I'll put a link to the PDF so that way you can follow along as well. This is what all my couples we go through, so feel free to follow along as well. So let's talk about the ceremony. So we always recommend setting up and being ready to go an hour prior to ceremony. If your ceremony starts at 4 p.m., we are ready to go at 3 p.m. Now, a bonus thing is we always tell people to start 15 minutes late. So let's just say you wanted to start at 4 p.m. You're really setting yourself up to go at 4:15. You should always 110% time start 15 minutes late. Doesn't matter what the event coordinator says. I know I'm gonna get a thumbs down from that, but not everybody shows up on time, and it's okay. So, but if you want to start at 4 p.m., tell everybody 3:45. There you go. So just kind of get it in your head of when the RSVPs, when you send them out and stuff like that, the verbiage is very important. Now, a little tip on top of that: if you want let's just say you're still starting at 4 o'clock, tell everybody 3:43. Because a lot of people have gone to several weddings over the last couple of years, and they're like, I don't remember if it starts at 3 o'clock, 4, 5, 6, I don't know. But if you say 3:43, most people are going to remember. They'll be like, oh yeah, don't you remember it starts at 3:43? So there you go. There's a little tip for you. So we block out for 2 hours. Reason is because an hour and 15 minutes worth of seating music, right? Then most ceremonies are 20 to 30 minutes. Even if the officiant says it's going to be quick, I can literally since 2007, there's been one officiant that said it was quick, and it was quick to everybody, and it was unbelievably quick, probably Guinness Book of World Records quick. Anyway, but most weddings our ceremonies typically last 20 to 30 minutes. So you had your 20, 30 minutes and then 15-minute transition. So that's everybody walking out, pictures and stuff like that, and we start to break down as everybody goes to cocktail hour. We're not going to touch base on cocktail hour today. That's for another quick video, probably for reception. So that's how we get our 2 hour block. Our 15 minutes seating, roughly 30 minutes of ceremony, 15-minute transition. Okay, so let's just say you're going to start at 4 o'clock. Typically 15 minutes till. We like to go in and just touch base with whoever, point person, just be like, hey, how's it looking? Do you think everybody's looking here? Look like they're here. The guest count is 150 people, for instance. Does it look like 150 people's here? Yeah, no, we're waiting for Aunt Mildred. She said she was going to be here. All right, perfect. Then we'll just wait. Well, let's just say Aunt Mildred is there, okay? So what we're going to do is I do a lot of weddings at Little Piney, one of my favorite places. Definitely check them out. But anyway, so in an instance like Little Piney, there are different areas. So we have the gazebo down by the lake, pavilion up top, then we have the fest house. So typically when everybody arrives at Little Piney, they go to the pavilion. And then let's just say you have your ceremony down at the gazebo. If you're like, yeah, we're ready to go, typically I'll start the music down at the gazebo and then come back up and just tell everybody start transitioning down. Also tell the carts, be like, hey, go ahead and tell them to head on down to the ceremony this time. So that's when we go in, make sure everybody's lining up. Everybody has any other final questions, comments, or concerns regarding the ceremony, where they're standing, how they're standing, when they're going in, what song, who they're walking in with, just to make sure it's all finalized and no one has any questions or any second thoughts about it. So just make sure we have a point person, coordinator, somebody holds the door, or someone has a relay, whether it's walkie-talkie, can be helpful in some instances. So then, so the first question that you want to ask is, what do you want for seating music for the hour and roughly 15 minutes? Now, I always tell couples to, listen to Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, whatever is out at the time. Spotify, in my opinion, is a good reference. You can kind of look at it and just type in ceremony seating music and just see what pops up and just kind of play with that. Of course, we have links and suggestions. Most popular ones are, I would have to say, like a classical music that is like a popular music like Vitamin String Quartet. They take pop music or popular music and turn it into a classical music. Others are acoustic piano or acoustic guitar, sometimes not even with vocals on it. And I'd have to say like a very like coffee house kind of chill with very light vocals is definitely other recommendations and stuff used throughout the ceremony seating music. Okay, so the question comes in, how do you want to start your ceremony? Do you want to start it with the officiant? Do you want to start with the officiant and the groom? Or do you want to start with parents, grandparents, immediate family, guardian, and stuff like that? So let's take a step back. So seating music, let's just say you start off with classical music. I wouldn't go, or let's just say 90s alternative. I would, if you start with 90s alternative, I wouldn't go anything less than 90s alternative throughout your day. So that way it gradually gets, louder and louder, heavier, to eventually to the dancing music, if that's what you prefer throughout the evening at your reception. But anyway, so your seating music, let's just say you pick Vitamin String Quartet. Okay, hour and 15 minutes, you're ready to start your first song with the first person that walks in. So once again, you can have more traditional. Now you can do whatever you want. At the end of the day, it's your day. You need to make the decision and feel good about your decision that you're going to make. Whether you're going to the hotel or whatever that night, or even the next day, just be proud of the decision that you made, and just make sure it's your decision. You don't have to, it's your day. You get one day. Make it your day. Okay, don't make it your mom's day. Don't make it your dad's, your uncle's. Nobody. It's your day. That's what you need to do. So if you want the officiant to come in and then we start, then that's how it's going to be. So sometimes, for instance, I create 2 moments of dead, awkward silence. I hate awkward silence, but I do it intentional in 2 spots. The first spot is right before we get going. So seating music, line everybody up. We go down, let's just say a little pioneer, we go down, make a cell phone announcement. Be like, hey, make sure you turn off all cell phones. If you're sitting next to that one that always forgets, because there's always one, always, don't be that one. You're sitting next to that one, nudge them in the ribs and say, hey, DJ's talking to you. About 30 seconds goes by, get a thumbs up from the door holder that you're ready to go. Music lowers down to an awkward silence. That's when the first song starts. Okay, so that would be your first song. So the question is, how are you going to start? So sometimes it may be music, awkward silence, or the officiant walks down, then awkward silence, because the officiant isn't necessarily starting the ceremony, but they are the thumbs up instead. So once the officiant's in place, then I know who's gonna that everybody back there started ready to go. Lower the music down, awkward silence, and then start off for the first song. So then let's just say it's parents, grandparents. Now my recommendation, magic number is about 5 or so. Parents, grandparents, if there are 5 parents, grandparents, guardians, ushers can walk them in as well. If there's roughly 5, I would consider giving them their own song. just for time purposes. Now, you can do whatever you want. It's like it goes back to your day. Sometimes they might come in to everybody come into all one song. I've had that before. So don't think the traditional way is the only way to go. These are just some ideas and stuff like that. So let's just say 5 grandparents, parents walk in, they get their own song, then transition into the groomsmen, bridesmaids. Now, so then that's the other question, is how are they walking in? Are they walking in together, separate? Is it groomsmen, then bridesmaids? Then now comes like whether the junior bridesmaids, flower girl, ring bearer, or you might have the beer man, you might have the flower dude, whatever, doing their own thing. So they might get their own song, and then the last one would be the bride. And that's when I make my second moment of awkward silence, is right before the bride walks in. So that also helps with the officiant to say, "Will everybody please stand?" The tip with officiants, especially ones that don't do this on a regular basis, is they typically don't tell people when to stand and when to sit. I know it's very basic, but honestly, I've had people stand an entire ceremony, and then sometimes I'm telling people to sit, And the only reason why that won the entire time is because I don't know 100% what the officiant's going to say unless they send it to me, which is typically not the case. So that entire first portion, like 20 something minutes, honestly felt like it was all an intro. So it felt like it was never a moment to sit down. So it's just a tip for the officiants. Tell them when to sit down, and then once again tell them when to stand. Once again, that second moment of awkward silence. So that way everybody knows that something's about to happen. Now, something I do as well is the music gradually gets louder from seating right before, right after the announcement, it gets louder. So let's just say I go all the way up to, let's just say a number 7. Awkward silence goes up to 8 for the start of the wedding. The bride comes in, awkward silence goes up to a 9. So that way it gradually gets louder and louder. During the exit, you may now kiss the bride, now presenting for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. And then that's when it goes up to a 10 for the exit music. But taking a step back, so yes, so that's that moment. You want to have a song, like I said, it's up to you. Like I've said, I've had other couples choose one song throughout the entire processional. So totally cool. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. Now, awkward silence. Let's talk about that. So if you're doing any sort of sand ceremony, wine box, giving of the flowers or the roses, anything what I call a ceremony within the ceremony, if you're doing anything and there is no talking, you gotta play some music because it's gonna be awkward. I did a meeting with a couple and the acoustics were horrible, and what I mean by horrible is it was tin all around on a concrete floor. That's a plan for disaster for sound. So, like, they're probably, I don't know, maybe 50 feet from me. Pretty small wedding, intimate. And it was one of those moments where, and we'll talk about this too, the officiant's like, nah, I don't need it. And the officiant he was just nervous and choking up and couldn't hardly get a word out. And then also the couple, they didn't tell me they were doing, I had the same meeting, had the same questions, and they changed it at the last minute where they were doing a tying of the knot, and so they didn't tell me, and they ended up doing it, and I could have started the song at least 3 times in between the awkward silence, And on top of that, since the acoustics were bad, I could hear like what they were saying. They're like, "Ah, you were doing it wrong. Well, you told me." So, about 40% of the time, it doesn't go right. So, you'll want to have a song there to help with that awkward moment of silence. Now, if someone, like at the last wedding I did, the officiant just he had a description for what about was about to happen. So it was a box where everybody was putting a note. So the parents and siblings put a note in the box. He explained everything prior to everybody putting everything in the box. Then I played the music as people were walking up. Now, sometimes it might be, and we're going to do a note box. And at this time, parents will be going up and putting a note in the box for them to read. Parent gets up, officiant explains the importance of the box, what's going to happen with the box, and stuff like that. So in a case like that, I would definitely play music very, very, very light underneath. So when the officiant's done and people are still dropping notes in the box, I can raise the music up and then wait for that transition for the focal point to go back to the couple and back to the officiant. Now, let's talk about mics just real quick. Me, personally, I have a mic that's an overhead and a shotgun mic. I try to use when there's something like flowers or some sort of arbor to put a mic. So that way, I always hated, for one, that I can hear the officiant really well, but I can never hear my couples. So I tried to extend that. Another thing was that officiant gets a mic 100% of the time, because you never know if it's gonna. I mean, it might be outdoor, and the acoustics. There aren't any acoustics outdoor, except for, if it's a big old valley and you hear echo 3 seconds later, something like that. And typically they're not yelling like that. So you always want to make sure they're mic'd 110% of the time. 110% of the time. The officiant gets mic'd. For me. Because I had 3 officiants that in my career that unfortunately they let me down. I trusted them. They were teachers. They're confident with speaking on a daily basis, but they're used to speaking in a 20 by 30 room, something small with students in it, or even a gym teacher, so I've had those, and every single time let me down. So I vowed to myself that I would never let that happen again. And so I got into it with an officiant just this past summer, where he's like, "I can speak loud enough." Well, that's great. You're going to speak loud enough through my microphone. And then he proceeded to tell me not how to do his job. So I proceeded to tell him that I wasn't trying to tell him how to do his job. I'm the sound guy. I'll provide the sound. You provide the officiating. So you do that, I'll do this, and we're going to be just fine. So anyway, long story short, he ended up wearing the mic. It was like 15, 20 mile per hour gust of wind. Like, ain't nobody being heard. So 100% of the time, especially outdoor, you get a mic. And like I said, I like to have the Vowels mic anyway, because typically you can't hear, your bride and groom anyway. And that's who you go to hear anyway. Another thing is for the videographer. So that's good to capture that as well. So, once again, music, you want to make sure you have music during downtime, any transitions that you're going to have. Any speakers or readers at that point need to have a mic. So, typically, at most weddings, I'd have to say the speaker or reader is not necessarily right up front where everybody's standing. So they might be standing off to the side. So they definitely need a mic, and something that's strong that can project. So all the time, they get a mic as well. Now this is something I work out with the officiant, because typically I don't get their notes or anything, so it's something I ask either at rehearsal or right before the ceremony, but like, hey, what are your transition points? So that way I know when the key points are on starting the song. And the next thing is the exit, or the recessional. So that's when you leave. That's your final song that you want to pick, and that's volume 10 on the way out. So a tidbit on the officiant is, you may now kiss the bride. Officiant needs to slide out of the way. So always tell your officiant, like, hey, when it comes to my kiss, I'm gonna need you to move, because I don't want you in my picture at that point in time. So just tell them, you may kiss the bride, slide, and then come back and make the final announcement. And then let's see. So the other thing is, with that transition announcement, everybody goes up. Now, in my opinion, especially like Little Piney, we're down at the gazebo, everybody's going back up to the pavilion, right? So I always say, if it's possible, just leave the parents and the grandparents at that area. Several reasons. Most of the time, pictures, photographs are being taken right at the ceremony, typically right after the ceremony. Okay? That means parents and grandparents don't have to walk 100 feet this way and 100 feet this way. And then not only that, but maybe get distracted, because there's always at least one person that gets distracted, because they're a people person. It's not their fault. And so they'll get distracted with 15 other people that they haven't seen in the last 5, 10, 15 years, and I want to talk, I want to chat. The other reason why is that the parents, grandparents, guardian, whoever, point person can explain to immediate family, hey, Joe, before you go up there and start dipping into the beer, I'm gonna need you to take a couple pictures with your niece over there, okay? So it also has that accountability. So I would have the officiant make the transition announcement. So let's just say you may kiss the bride, slide, back up, announcing for the first time, Mr. and Mrs. Boom, walk. All the wedding party walks, music lowers, officiant makes transition announcement, cocktail hour will be here, and then photographs will be immediately following. If you have any questions on if you're in that photo or not, please ask the family. Thank you so much. Peace with some hair grease. And that's it. So let's see, a couple notes. So I don't know if I went over this, so I want to make sure I do. Make sure the officiant knows that, makes the announcement for everybody to stand before the bride comes in, and everybody to be seated at some point after the introduction. And that's about it, man. So I hope this helps. I hope this is very helpful with your planning, thinking things out. This is just a sample. It's not anything set in stone. You may know the answers today, but this is something you should be working on over the duration of, we like to meet at least twice, or at least once, if not twice. This may be considered that meeting, because everybody works differently. Some people can work better off the PDF. Some people can work better off a video they can refer back to and make notes and stuff like that. But this is something we like to have finalized 2 to 4 weeks out of the event date. So that way it's something that can be in the back of your mind. Be like, yes, do I want 3 songs? Do I want 1 song? What kind of seating music do I want? Now, I always tell my couples that they can have as much or little to say in their music as they want. I've literally, for an entire day, which is ceremony, cocktail hour, reception, I've had some couples give me 3 songs for the entire day, and I've had other couples plan out my every second of the day. So whatever you are, at least for my company. You can do whatever you want because it is your day, and I want you to have your day. And I'm going to bust my butt to make sure that you have an amazing day. So yeah, there's that. And then also dig through playlists. I recommend Spotify is a great one, just because people have already created playlists, so you might be able to look up ceremony seating music and see what pops up. Just make sure at the end of the day that, once again, it's your decision. You're happy with that decision. It's not your mom's, not your auntie's, not anybody's decision or influence, but your own, and that you're happy with it. And then, of course, you're getting married, so you have your significant other that you're working with, and sometimes they have a say, and sometimes they might be like, I get one song throughout the whole day, or one picture, or one idea. So yeah, just have fun with it. Don't make it tedious. If you get stuck, at least if you're one of my couple, if you get stuck, don't hesitate. Reach out, text, call, email, poke on Facebook. I don't know if that's a thing anymore, but whatever. The point is just don't make it hard. Don't make it stressful. Make it fun. And yeah, don't ever get stuck. Don't ever feel like the burden is all on you. And also put it back on the DJ a little bit. Be like, hey, what are your thoughts on this? And a good DJ MC that's been doing this for a while should be able to tell you, the good recommendations and stuff like that. I also have a Facebook group that collab for couples, where you can bounce ideas off other couples that have already gone through it, and other couples that are in the midst of planning, and you can ask your question there too. Definitely helpful. So yeah, hope this helps. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to email, text, call, leave it in a comment below. If you leave it in a comment, I'm just going to be honest with you, I might not get to it. So if you have my contact information, feel free to, that would be the best way to reach out, so I can answer you directly and make sure it's in a sufficient amount of time. Yeah, have fun with it, and catch me on the next one. Peace out.